Have you ever paid for sex? How was that experience? Would you do it again? One time, when my husband and I were playing Monopoly, I landed on his property with hotels on it. I didn't have the money to pay. I offered him sex in exchange for the Monopoly money. We remind each other of that often, 15 some years later. Sorta. Hooked up with a guy and he stole my iPod. I hooked up with a train wreck of a woman I knew from high school after running into her at a bar. She stole my iPad and $70 from my wallet. Her dumbass left her purse open as I was driving her home and saw the iPad with the cash shoved in the case. Stole my own shit back when she was not paying attention and threw it in the back seat and dropped her off without saying anything. God, I have never washed my junk so hard in my life, and thank goodness I wore a rubber. I have never paid for sex, but a guy misunderstood a hookup and gave me some money the next morning, and I didn't make the connection about what had happened until I talked to my roommate. I was mortified, lol. I mean, all my wife gets when we are done is pancakes, so you must have done a great job. I went to a shady massage parlor to see if they really do happy endings. They do. A 60-year-old Chinese woman was doing my massage, smiled at me and said, "You want extra, yeah?" And when I nodded, she proceeded to jerk me off with both of her tiny, wrinkled hands. Was it worth the extra $60? No, it was not. Man, this is the sort of honesty that really makes me admire the internet. You paid for the handy, but the shame and disappointment were free. You would expect 60 years of experience would be worth at least $60. I didn't pay, other people paid, without me knowing what was going on. It's now a joke to everyone in town that I thought I had a girlfriend. Fun fact, 25 years ago we paid a friend of a friend to come to a bar and make a friend of ours feel special, no sex, just chat with him and help him get over his fear of women. They have been married 23 years. She is really going all out to earn that $40 we paid her. I used to pay a girl that I met on Whisper $100 a week to give me head. We became good friends for a while. She was amazing at BJS. Then she ghosted. I understand, but I miss you, Kat. You were amazing. I was traveling Europe solo and was in Amsterdam. Walked through the red light district to check it out, of course. I thought to myself that there was no way on earth I could do that, knowing that hundreds of people were walking on the sidewalk a few feet away. I made my way back to my hotel, which was somewhat off the beaten path, and I came across a much smaller red light area. In the window was one of the most beautiful women I had ever seen. I had to talk myself into it, but eventually I went in. She was Brazilian and had one of the most amazing bodies I had seen. Best 30 seconds of the trip. A former colleague was telling me he was going to visit a lady in Amsterdam, but just before he went in, the nastiest looking guy walked out and he snapped out of it. I did once in the Philippines. Well, kinda. I went shopping at a mall in Cebu City a few days before I was going to head back to the States. Was browsing in this electronics store because they have all sorts of cool gadgets that we don't get in the USA. A few minutes after I enter the store, a very beautiful Filipina girl walks up to me asking if I need any help. I decline and tell her I am just looking because they have a bunch of cool tech stuff we don't get in the US. She asks me where I am from in the US, why I am in the Philippines, my age, if I am with someone, which I was not. She was pretty cool and started joking with me about stuff while I was looking around the store. Her fellow coworker was also joking with me about them both being single. As I was about to leave, she asked me if I used WhatsApp. I said I did, so she gave me her number and said to message her if I wanted to hang out before I left the Philippines. 2 days later, I am sitting around with no plans, pretty bored. So I message her asking if she wanted to go out to a bar after she got off work. She replies yes. Almost instantly, I met her at this rooftop bar I found on Google Maps that was pretty close to my Airbnb. We have an excellent time, got along great. I invited her back to my Airbnb. It's around 2 a.m. and we were both slightly drunk. We get there and she was all over me as soon as we get in the door. It was probably the best drunk sex I ever had. It was almost 5 a.m. when we finished. We laid there in bed cuddling and talking for another couple hours about everything you could think of. Almost 7 a.m. by the time we decided to sleep. It was super cool. We wake up around noon and continue talking. I asked her how much she made at her job. She says about 5,000 Philippine pesos a month. Basically 86 ust. This shocked me. She joked that she knew I probably had meals in the US that cost more than she made in a month. We ended up hanging out the remaining few days I had left in the Philippines. It was an amazing time. The day I had to leave, she came to the airport with me at 3 a.m. to send me off. After we say our goodbyes, I remember I still have a bunch of pesos in my wallet. I stop her and tell her I want to give her what I have in my wallet. She declined at first. I had about 430 US in my wallet. Basically 25,000 peso. When I took the money out, she really didn't want to take it, but I insisted. I didn't want to go to the money exchange in the airport anyway. After I left the Philippines, we talked on WhatsApp almost every day. I ended up going back to the Philippines a year later and we met up for a week and had an amazing time once again. She told me that the money I gave her helped pay for the entire last year of her college tuition plus some. She graduated right after I left the Philippines the second time, and she is now a nurse in London. A pretty successful lady, sending plenty of money back home to her family. She also now has a boyfriend there. All of this happened 6 years ago. Yes, I know technically I didn't pay directly for sex. I just like telling this story. Good memories. I get a monthly allowance to get bent over once a week by upper management. It's not great, do not recommend. Once, while I was a young man traveling around Europe, walking down the street in Berlin, feeling quite lonely, got propositioned, and I agreed. Went back to my hotel and we had sex. At that age it was quite enlightening. For all intents and purposes, prostitutes are well qualified. They have a lot of experience and can be very creative, so as a young man, it was eye-opening to the world of sexual exploration. I am quite a bit older now and I would not do it again. I have also garnered a lot of experience in my time, so I know what I like. But also meaningless sex loses its luster over time. Would much rather be intimate with someone with whom I have an emotional connection that makes it feel way better afterwards. Kinda by accident, high school classmate needed about $100 in college. She could not pay it back and offered me for lays whenever I wanted. I was 20, so was like, yes please. I was in the Navy back in the early 80s. My first time was in a bar in Panama. I believe it was called the Ancan Inn. I was sitting watching naked dancers on stage with flames all around, with a guy was sitting in the middle of the stage eating broken colored glass, while my friends were doing lines on the table, provided for by the house. A middle-aged woman approached me, looked dead into my eyes and said, "Virgin," she said on my lap, pulled her panties to the side. I got hard just before I came. She jumped up, said $40 suck and fuck. I said okay. She called a cab, went through some tough streets, she showered me, and sat on me for maybe 7 minutes. There was a child in the crib I had not noticed before. She asked if I wanted to spend the night. She would make acts. I was shocked. I said no thank you and took a cab back to the bar. I went back to the bar to meet my drunk friends. Another woman came up to me and said, "Virgin, want to fuck?" So goes my 4-year Navy career. I went to the red light district in Amsterdam. I was really drunk and my friends kept trying to pressure me to do it. So I went in and could not do much because I was so drunk. It was not great, but it was an experience, I guess. I was 19 on summer break from college. A pizza delivery boy with too many cash tips burning a hole in my pocket. Allegedly I checked out. The now shut down. Back page I see an ad for 40-year-old MILF. That's all a 19-year-old raised on movies like American Pie needs to see. I drive to the motel. She was definitely sexy. Picture like your friend's hot mom, who smokes cigarettes and lets you guys get high in the basement. Yeah, it was great. I totally allegedly may have seen her one more time after that. Good times. The year before last, when I ended my relationship, about 2-3 months later, I had not had sex for a long time, and I wanted to try something different. So I looked on some websites and found a chubby girl who lived close to me. I sent her a message, talked to her and said it was my first time doing this kind of thing, etc. We met up and went to the motel. When we got there, I had never been with a chubby girl before. We did what we do, and after that, I vented. I said I had finished and everything and we started talking. She told me that she had a son, that she was doing that for him. She told me what she liked to watch Doctor Who. She showed me the songs she liked. We played, we left, and we got to know each other beyond sex. We spent about 2-3 hours at the motel. She charged me the price of the time normally, and when it was time to leave we shared a kiss that was outside of the stipulated work. I was reinvigorated. I didn't talk to her again, or hire that type of work again, but it was better than any psychologist I could have gone to at the time. All that depression about the end of the relationship vanished as if it had never bothered me, incredibly. A friend's grandfather told him when he left for the army, "Remember, when you pull it out for anything other than to pee, you will pay. It may not always be money, but you will pay." Thanks for watching. Share your story in the comment.